Well, another reason why this issue of bullying is so important, and I'm so excited to I'm surrounded by experts because this is something that needs to be addressed from many facets and many sides. And joining me right now is Dr. Aldewan Tart. I said that right?
You did.
All
you
right,
did.
great. And he is a psychologist, relationship expert. Dr. Tart I actually heard him on a radio program. I was like, he has to be on the program because he had such wonderful things to say about what schools can do to really implement solutions in the culture of a school. And then next to me, I have what is a very interesting title for this individual. He is a certified hacker. Right? Ethical hacker. And he's going to talk, this is Gregory Evans, he is going to talk about the issue of cyberbullying because when it comes to texting and emails and Facebook, that is something that is escalating as well when we talk about bullying. And then this is the man behind this show, Mr. Rick Goings. He is our producer and he's here just to be part of this conversation and this dialogue. And then at the end of the table, we have Dr. Erik Fisher, who is also a psychologist, an expert in this area, and he's talking about the dynamic of power as it relates to bullying. So gentlemen, thank you all for being here. And I heard you mention power, which is a perfect segue to you because that's what you talk about, the power dynamic and how the issue of bullying really is about power.
Totally, totally it is. It's basically the way our culture is structured. I say what we live in is what I call a hierarchical model of power. It's like the big circle to the little circle. When I do this talk with families, with kids as young as 2 and 3 and 4, I say, which circle would you want to be if you could be any circle? They go, I want to be the big one. And right there I say to the parents, I say, now you understand why there's an issue. The problem is we enculturate that totally. We live in a winner-take-all culture. We live in a culture where you're not supposed to show weakness. So even in that culture, I talk about 4 dichotomies: good and bad, right and wrong, strong and weak, and the ultimate one being win and lose. Bullies want to look strong. They don't care about looking bad or wrong because if they look strong, this is why we fight wars. If they look strong and we win the war, then we define the good and right in that culture. Right. You know, so we have to understand that the other issue that's going on here too has to do with temperament of that child. In other words, what's the personality they come here? Where some kids are born wanting to look strong and they're misunderstood. I have a daughter who's very strong-willed, and I love that strong will in her. However, as a parent, I have to be aware how to help her to feel strong and be strong in herself and respect other people, to respect their rights to be an individual and to respect who they are as a person as she respects herself. The other issue I see a lot of is issues with attachment in our culture. Attachment is something that's come up, we look at in adoption literature and things, but what I see is eroding attachments across our culture, where you have 2 working parents. I heard one of the mothers talking earlier about that she got so absorbed in the corporate culture, she lost track of her kids. Our kids deserve our time. They are our greatest gifts and our greatest teachers. And a lot of times when kids are doing these things, I see a lot of parents turn the other head, but the kids are telling you there's something going on, whether I'm the bully or whether I'm feeling victimized, you know. What I try to teach people is how to move from that hierarchical model of power, of either feeling like the bully, the victim, or often the rescuer we talk about, to move to more of an equity-based model of power. That we all have the same amount of power, but we have different gifts, strengths, weaknesses, handicaps, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. As you pull all that together, you find balance. And it's when we find balance that we really feel like we're ourselves in our eyes. People who are confident don't bully. Most bullies have been bullied, and even bullies who have never been bullied often have a sense of entitlement. That emotion that's behind entitlement is arrogance. And the purpose of arrogance is to protect me with a shield of false pride.
Wow.
So it's all these factors of power of how we got to where we got and how we need to get to another place really has to do not with the bullies, but really the victims. And that's where I think we really need to start.
Okay. Wow. You hear the stories of kids who leave the house in one outfit and go to school and change, and there's a whole dynamic of change that happens when a child walks into a class. Sometimes it's this persona of this is who I have to be because this is who they like. This is who I have to be because this is what is expected. This is who I have to be because if they really got to know me, they wouldn't like me and I wouldn't be accepted. And I think parents really need to get to know their children, because who your child is sometimes at home is not who that child is in a classroom, and trust your teacher to be able to communicate things to you that you may not always always want to hear, because we see and hear so much more than you do sometimes if you're this working parent in this house.
Well, and again, it goes back to that whole imposter thing. You know, I want to look a certain way at home because my parents, they're supposed to love me, and they wouldn't love and accept me if I was the real me. So I got to be this person for them. And then I go to school and I have to be this person for them. So you get people who really grow up being chameleons. We as a culture have to own this, and we as a culture have to change this, and we are the leaders of this culture now. So it's not about fault, because if you look at fault, I look at what emotions come when somebody says fault. Blame, shame, guilt, failure. What happens when I say it's our responsibility? It's more empowering. There's a sense of, hey, I can do this. I feel good. I'm a part of something, not I'm a part of this. You know. So we have to look at how the words we use empower. Words are so critical, and the words we use with our kids, and how we approach them, the tone we use, like we talked about earlier, the body language we use when we're open with them versus sitting like this. I can't tell you how many families I've had the honor of working with, where I come in and I tell the kid who's basically been the bully, I say, you know what? Thank you. And they're like, what? I said, thank you. Thank you for being the barometer to say there's a problem in your family. Wow. Thank you for being the barometer saying there's a problem at school. I appreciate your courage, because you don't have to be good to hide the good inside of you. You're ready to be strong and say there's a problem here. Now, it's reframing the issue. And I think that we have to look at, too, if we look at this on a socio-cultural level and a geopolitical level, what a lot of bullies really equate to are terrorists in a way. Because they are terrorizing a certain segment of culture that undermines the people in authority, whether it's teachers or whether it's parents or whoever. Why are they doing that? Because something's wrong. That's right. People are not terrorists because they want to cause harm and pain for the most part. They're terrorists because they want to lead to a change in the culture, but they don't know how to do it effectively because of social skills issues, because of self-confidence issues, because I'm supposed to be the certain person and show the certain image. So we have to step back and make sure, like I said, don't bully the bully. Understand and understand yourself. And as you look inside and find what makes you tick, you'll find, oh my gosh, I just bullied that person. Well, control is an illusion, and I always say it's an illusion based in fear. People who want to control things are stuck in a place of fear. It's management, it's understanding, it's looking collectively and working together instead of creating boxes and isolating people. We have to pull together really as a community.
Kids need parents. They don't need friends. They got them bullying at home, at school. They need parents.
That's right.
Let me go back to the models of power I talk about, because there's a big misunderstanding. When I talk about the hierarchical models versus equity models, a lot of people think, you know, if I say your child is equal in power to you, they're like, what? You know, I'm like, well, look, wait a second. If you are supposed to be the big circle of your child, you are the boss and the controlling agent. It undermines trust. It undermines love, and it creates what I call a fear-based respect, okay? Because I respect you only as long as I'm in your reach, or only as long as I feel afraid of you, and that's why they do things different at school versus at home. If I teach equity and I parent from an equity model, I'm your guide and your supportive agent. I'm not your buddy, because my job as a parent is I have experience, I have wisdom, I'm not perfect, but I will be there to help guide you and support you. I teach a love-based respect. There's golden rules I teach in those two models. The golden rule of the equity model, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I think we've all heard that.
Yes, we have.
The golden rule, the hierarchical model, he who has the gold makes the rules. That's what our whole culture is based in, and it's a hypocrisy. And kids see that, and when kids stop trusting people in authority, that's when they start to take matters in their own hand. So from the age when your kids can first come out of that womb, or they come out of that womb and they start to talk, they start to crawl, you start empowering them. We act like this epidemic has taken over a culture. It's taking place, and it's been there for a long time. We now have the power to change it by the time we spend with our kids and what we do with our kids when they're young, and empowering them from the very beginning. Teach them problem-solving skills. My 3 questions I have kids ask themselves and ask their parents to ask them are, is what I did a good idea or I'm going to do? Does it hurt, harm, or interfere anyone, anything, or myself? And is there a different or better way to do it? If they make a mistake, they write an essay on it. You know, timeouts, limitations, things like that. People say timeouts don't work and I just need to, you know, whip my kid up. I disagree. It's consistency and it's follow through and it's structure. It's so important.
I have to say something, and he talked about it, but I'm going to have to bring it back up. It goes back to our culture, and I blame a lot, like he said, on hip hop. Said it before, but he said it tonight, and I was going to leave it there.
This traverses
but let me
gender, or it reverses race. It's
not even just that. It's not even just that, because a teacher can stand there all day and say, okay, what's the capital of the United States? What's the capital of this? These kids can care less, because as soon as they get out of school and they go home and they turn on BET or MTV or on their way home and they're listening to hip hop and they see these people who are supposed to be successful, who dropped out of school, bragged about getting shot 9 times, been to jail, all of this stuff, and look, I have the big house, the big cars, and I have the beautiful women. So this is what success is. So whatever your parents are telling you, that doesn't mean anything. Whatever you learned in school today about the Pilgrims, who cares? They're not buying tickets.
It's a symptom, though. It's a symptom. It's not the cause. It's another symptom. It's the same thing as saying that somebody committed suicide because they listened to Black Sabbath.
If that's the symptom, then how do you fix it?
Well, I think we have to go back to there has to be discipline. And there's a lack of spare the rod, spoil the child. And we have a lot of spoiled children. And there are a lot of kids that I see that they wish their parents were stronger, that they were not their friends. And that, hey, I'm your guide, but there's only one way in this household, and it's my way. And if you do what you're supposed to do, then you'll get rewarded. If you don't, you'll get consequences and you'll lose those rewards. I'm a proponent of old school behavior modification. The kids that the kids that come to
switch off the cheese, go outside and get the switch off the cheese.
All right, guys, we are.
I totally agree with you on that.
Let's take another show and talk about how to manage your kids' behavior.
Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. E, of course, we can go to drepresents.com to check you out. Dr. Tart, do you have a website?
drtart.com.
drtart.com and GregoryDEvans.com. I'm going to leave you right now with this last clip.